I arrived at my sister's wedding with a smile on my face and my daughter's hand in mine, determined to make the best of the day, despite our complicated relationship. That smile shattered the moment my mother and sister cornered me in the bridal suite, demanding $10,000 from my daughter's college fund for what they called an emergency catering situation. When I firmly refused to sacrifice my child's future for my sister's wedding, the room temperature seemed to drop 20 degrees. My refusal that day ignited a chain reaction that nobody could have predicted, especially not what would happen next to my innocent 10-year-old daughter. I've always been the practical sister. While Tiffany chased dreams of luxury and status, I focused on building a stable life for my daughter Amanda. As a single mom working as a dental hygienist and weekend bookkeeper for a local business, every dollar I saved was earmarked for Amanda's future. For 6 years, I've put aside $200 monthly into her college fund, watching it slowly grow to $30,000. Not a fortune, but enough to give her options I never had. Tiffany, on the other hand, had always been our mother's golden child. From childhood dance recitals to her corporate marketing career, Tiffany's achievements were celebrated while mine were merely acknowledged. When she announced her engagement to Jack Patterson, son of respected Judge William Patterson, our mother Sandra practically floated with joy. The wedding planning consumed them both for months, each detail more extravagant than the last. Amanda had been thrilled when Tiffany asked her to be a junior bridesmaid. Despite our differences, I wanted Amanda to experience the joy of family celebrations. She'd twirled around our apartment in her lavender dress during fittings, practicing her walk down the aisle. I'd swallowed my concerns about the cost of alterations and matching shoes, wanting her to feel included in the family spectacle. Aunt Tiffany says I need to practice my princess wave, Amanda told me, as we drove to Mountain Creek Country Club for the rehearsal dinner. The exclusive venue sat nestled against rolling hills, its stone facade and manicured gardens screaming old money. Valets in crisp uniforms took our modest sedan, as Amanda's eyes widened at the fountain display. "Just be yourself, sweetie." "That's more than enough," I said, smoothing her blonde hair as we entered the grand foyer with its crystal chandelier and marble floors. I felt immediately underdressed, despite wearing my nicest black cocktail dress, purchased on clearance months ago, specifically for this weekend. The rehearsal dinner seemed perfect on the surface. Tiffany glowed in her white satin rehearsal dress, clinking glasses with Jack's law firm colleagues and our extended family. I noticed her tight smile when speaking with the catering manager, a tall woman with a clipboard who kept gesturing toward the kitchen. Tiffany dismissed her with a wave, turning back to Jack's mother Eleanor with practiced charm. "Everything going okay?" I asked, when I finally got a moment with my sister. "Absolutely perfect," she replied, her voice tight. "Just last-minute details. You know how these service people can be, always trying to nickel and dime you." I nodded, though I had no frame of reference for planning an event that reportedly cost over $70,000. Later that night, after tucking Amanda into the hotel room's second bed, I was startled by aggressive knocking. Opening the door, I found Tiffany and our mother, both still fully dressed despite it being almost midnight. "We need to talk," Sandra said, pushing past me into the room. Tiffany followed, her rehearsal dinner smile completely vanished. "Keep your voice down. Amanda's sleeping," I whispered, gesturing to the bed where my daughter's small form lay under the covers. "This is an emergency, Nellie," Tiffany hissed, pacing the small hotel room. "The catering company is threatening to cancel if they don't receive the balance payment before tomorrow morning." Sandra sat on the edge of my bed, her designer purse clutched tightly in her manicured hands. "Tiffany needs $10,000 to secure the caterers. We need you to transfer it first thing tomorrow." My stomach dropped. 10,000? I don't have that kind of money just sitting around. "Your college fund for Amanda," Tiffany said flatly. "Mom told me you've been saving." "This is family, Nellie. I'd do the same for you." "That money is for Amanda's future," I said, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. "I can't just give it away." "It's not giving it away," Sandra said, her voice rising slightly before she checked herself with a glance at Amanda. "It's helping your sister in her time of need. We've already told everyone you agreed to help cover some of the costs." "You did what?" I asked, stunned. Tiffany at least had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. "Look, Between the custom ice sculpture, the upgraded floral arrangements, and the premium open bar package, things got a little over budget. I thought we could manage, but then the catering company raised their rates last minute. Something about her explanation didn't add up. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why wait until the night before? Tiffany and Sandra exchanged a look that sent warning bells ringing through my mind. Fine, Tiffany snapped. If you must know, I borrowed some of the catering funds for our honeymoon package. The Maldives was Jack's dream destination, and I couldn't disappoint him. I thought Dad's bonus would come through in time to cover it, but it's delayed. Happy now? The truth clicked into place. This wasn't an emergency at all. This was Tiffany's poor planning and entitled expectation that others would bail her out. As always, I'm sorry about your situation, I said carefully. But that money is Amanda's future. I've been saving for years. I can't just hand it over for your honeymoon. It's just a loan, Sandra insisted. Tiffany will pay you back. The look in my sister's eyes told me otherwise. I can't, I said firmly. I'm sorry. Tiffany's face transformed, her wedding glow replaced by cold fury. After everything I've done, making your little brat a bridesmaid even though she doesn't fit the aesthetic? Inviting you despite your embarrassing discount store wardrobe? This is how you repay me? Sandra stood up, looming over me. Sleep on it. We expect the money transferred by 9 tomorrow morning. Don't ruin your sister's special day, Nellie. Family comes first. They left without another word, the door clicking shut behind them. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone to check my bank accounts. The college fund was in a high-interest savings account, technically accessible but designed to discourage withdrawals. I had just over $4,000 in my regular savings, money earmarked for Amanda's braces next year. From the other bed, I heard a small voice. Mom, is everything okay? I looked over to see Amanda sitting up, her eyes wide in the dim room. I wondered how much she had heard. Everything's fine, sweetie. Just grown-up stuff. Go back to sleep. As Amanda settled back down, I wondered what tomorrow would bring, never imagining just how explosive my sister's wedding day would actually become. The morning of the wedding dawned with picture-perfect blue skies, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside the hotel restaurant where the bridal party gathered for breakfast. Tiffany held court at the center of the table, her bridesmaids laughing too loudly at her jokes while I picked at my omelet, Amanda quiet beside me. Nellie, can I borrow you for a sec? Sandra appeared behind my chair, her voice sugary but her eyes hard. I followed her to a quiet corner near the restaurant entrance, bracing myself. Did you make the transfer? She demanded, dropping all pretense of pleasantry. No, Mom. I told you last night. I can't take from Amanda's future. Sandra's carefully made-up face tightened. Don't be difficult. This wedding is connecting us to the Patterson family. Do you understand what that means for all of us? Judge Patterson has connections throughout the state. Think about Amanda's future applications, the doors that could open. If those doors depend on me emptying her college fund, they're not doors worth walking through, I replied, surprising myself with my firmness. Sandra gripped my arm, her red nails digging in slightly. You've always been like this, so short-sighted. Your sister is giving you an opportunity to finally be part of something important. By demanding my daughter's money? By including you despite everything. Sandra's voice dripped with insinuation, referencing my divorce 4 years ago that had embarrassed her in her country club circles. Back at the table, Tiffany clinked her water glass. Toast to my amazing bridesmaids. I love each of you so much for being part of this journey. Her gaze swept past me as if I were invisible. The next 3 hours passed in a blur of hairstyling and makeup application in the bridal suite. Professional artists transformed the bridesmaids one by one, while Tiffany supervised from a throne-like chair, champagne flute permanently attached to her hand. When Amanda's turn came for her junior bridesmaid styling, Tiffany suddenly became overly interested. Her hair needs to be perfect, she announced loudly. Everyone will be looking at her. The stylist nodded, starting to work on Amanda's blonde waves. She looks so much like her father, Tiffany commented to the room. Those eyes, those ears. Carbon copy. I stiffened. Amanda's father had abandoned us before her first birthday. a painful subject she had recently become more curious about. Tiffany knew exactly what she was doing. "You're doing great, Amanda," I said, trying to drown out Tiffany's voice. While the makeup artist worked on Amanda, Tiffany leaned down beside my daughter, smiling brightly for the benefit of the vendors in the room. "Your mommy is being very difficult today," she said in a sing-song voice. "If she doesn't start cooperating, you might not be able to walk down the aisle after all. Wouldn't that be sad?" Amanda's eyes widened, seeking me out in the mirror. "Don't listen to her," I said, moving closer. "You're going to walk down that aisle no matter what." Tiffany straightened, her smile never faltering. "We'll see," she whispered to me before floating away to check her own elaborate updo. While Amanda was distracted by the makeup artist showing her different lip gloss options, Sandra cornered me again near the bathroom. "After everything we've done for you?" she hissed. "When your deadbeat husband left, who paid your rent for 3 months? Who watched Amanda when you picked up that second job? And I've spent years paying you back," I reminded her. "Every penny." "Family isn't about keeping score," Sandra said, though her entire life revolved around exactly that. "Then why are you keeping score now?" I countered. Her eyes narrowed. "Because after all we've done, the least you could do is help your sister in her time of need." "By stealing from my daughter?" Sandra's face flushed with anger. "Don't be so dramatic. It's borrowing. Besides, who knows if Amanda will even go to college? With her grades and attention issues, she might not be university material." Her casual cruelty regarding my daughter made my hands shake. Amanda had struggled with reading initially, but had worked incredibly hard with tutors I could barely afford. Her last report card had been her best yet. "We're done with this conversation," I said, turning away. 9,000, Sandra called after me. "We could make 9,000 work." When the stylist finally finished with everyone, I slipped away to call my bank, confirming that no one else was authorized to access Amanda's college fund. The representative assured me that without my password and identification, the money was secure. As we prepared to leave for the ceremony venue, Amanda tugged at my arm. "Mom, why is Grandma so mad at you? And Aunt Tiffany keeps giving me weird looks." I knelt to her level, careful not to wrinkle my bridesmaid dress. Sometimes grown-ups get very stressed about big events. Your grandma and aunt are worried about everything being perfect. Are they mad I'm in the wedding? I heard Aunt Tiffany say something about me not fitting. My heart cracked at her insecurity. "No, sweetie. They're thrilled you're part of the wedding. You're going to do wonderfully." Amanda nodded, unconvinced. "Aunt Tiffany told me if I make any mistakes, everyone will remember forever." Anger flared in my chest. "There are no mistakes in being yourself. Just walk, smile, and enjoy being part of the day." The photography session before the ceremony became another battlefield of passive aggression. Tiffany positioned Amanda far from center in every group shot, sometimes excluding her entirely. The photographer, sensing tension, tried to mediate. "Let's get one with all the family together," he suggested. "Actually," Tiffany cut in, "I think we need some bride solo shots now. The lighting is changing." As the bridal party dispersed for a break before the final preparations, Tiffany grabbed my arm, her acrylic nails biting into my skin. Her voice was low but venomous. "Last chance, Nellie. Transfer the money before the ceremony starts, or I announce to everyone that Amanda is being removed from the wedding party. Imagine how she'll feel, standing there in her dress while everyone watches her be excluded. 9,000, like Mom said. That's my final offer." She released my arm and straightened her veil, transforming instantly into the beaming bride as one of her bridesmaids approached. I stood frozen, my sister's threat hanging in the air. The ceremony was scheduled to start in 40 minutes. Looking across the garden where pre-ceremony photos were finishing, I saw Amanda sitting alone on a decorative bench, carefully keeping her dress clean, the weight of adult tensions visible in her small shoulders. In that moment, I knew I couldn't give in to Tiffany's demands, not even to spare Amanda temporary embarrassment. Some lessons about standing your ground were worth learning, even at 10 years old. I just never imagined how brutal that lesson would become in the next hour. The grand ballroom of Mountain Creek Country Club hummed with anticipation as 200 guests filtered in for the ceremony. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over white-covered chairs adorned with lavender ribbon and centerpieces of orchids and roses that reportedly cost $300 each. A string quartet played softly near the elevated stage where the ceremony would take place. I spotted my cousin Diane waving from near the back and made my way to her, grateful for a friendly face. Diane had always been the family truth-teller, unafraid of Sandra's manipulation or Tiffany's tantrums. "You look like you've been through war already," she observed, taking in my tight expression. "What's happening?" I quickly explained the financial demand and threats while Amanda was distracted by the dessert table display nearby. Diane's eyes widened. "That's extortion. Over catering they already booked? That makes no sense." "Apparently she reallocated the catering money to fund their honeymoon," I explained. "Now she's trying to strong-arm me into covering it." "Classic Tiffany," Diane shook her head. "What are you going to do?" "Stand my ground," I said, though my stomach churned at the thought of the scene Tiffany might create. "Good for you." "I've got your back," Diane squeezed my hand. "And Amanda's." We were interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. Jack's parents had arrived. Judge William Patterson looking distinguished in his tuxedo, his wife Eleanor elegant in a navy blue dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I had only met them briefly at the engagement party, where they had been polite but reserved. To my surprise, they headed directly toward me. "You must be Nellie," Judge Patterson extended his hand. "Jack speaks highly of you. Says you're the sensible Morgan's sister." "It's nice to see you again, Your Honor," I replied, shaking his hand. "William, please, we're family today." His smile seemed genuine, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Eleanor bent to speak to Amanda. "And you must be the junior bridesmaid we've heard about. That dress looks lovely on you." Amanda beamed, some of her earlier tension melting away. "Thank you. I practiced walking so I won't trip." "You'll do wonderfully," Eleanor assured her. Our pleasant conversation was interrupted by Sandra's purposeful approach, her fuchsia, mother-of-the-bride dress rustling as she inserted herself between us. "Judge Patterson, Eleanor, I see you found my daughter," she said, her social voice in full effect. "Nellie's been such a help with the wedding, contributing significantly to today's arrangements." I stiffened at her implication. Judge Patterson raised an eyebrow slightly but said nothing. "In fact," Sandra continued, her hand gripping my arm again, "Nellie was just coming to help with a financial matter before the ceremony. If you'll excuse us." She practically dragged me toward a quieter corner near the stage area, her smile dropping the moment we were out of earshot. "Are you trying to embarrass me? Chatting up the Pattersons like you're their equal?" she hissed. "They approached me, Mom. We were just talking." "While the ceremony is delayed because of your stubbornness," she snapped. "Tiffany told me you're still refusing to help." "The money is for Amanda's education," I repeated, feeling like a broken record. "I won't take it away from her future." Sandra's voice rose slightly. "Your sister's future matters too. This marriage connects us to an important family. Do you think Judge Patterson would want his son marrying into a family that can't even pull together in a crisis?" "What crisis?" "Tiffany spent the catering money on a luxury honeymoon without telling anyone. That's not a crisis. That's irresponsibility." "Lower your voice," Sandra demanded, though she was the one attracting attention. I noticed several guests glancing our way, including some of Jack's relatives. Diane had moved closer, positioning herself near Amanda protectively. "I'm done with this conversation," I said firmly. "The ceremony is about to start. Let's focus on that." "Oh, now you care about the ceremony," Sandra scoffed. "After refusing to help make it happen." A microphone squealed as someone tapped it, and we all turned to see Tiffany herself standing on the small stage, her wedding gown catching the light dramatically. The string quartet fell silent. "Welcome, everyone," she announced, her bride voice saccharine sweet. "We'll be starting in just a few minutes. I wanted to personally thank you all for coming to share this special day." Her eyes found me in the crowd, especially my sister Nellie, who has been so present throughout this process, and her daughter Amanda, our junior bridesmaid. The way she emphasized present made it clear she was taking a dig at my lack of financial contribution. Several guests shifted uncomfortably, sensing the undercurrent. We're just finalizing some last-minute arrangements, Tiffany continued. Please enjoy some champagne while you wait. As servers circulated with trays of champagne flutes, Sandra resumed her attack, now joined by two of my aunts who had picked up on the tension. What's going on? Aunt Patty asked, looking between us. Nellie is refusing to help with a catering emergency, Sandra stated before I could speak. After everything we've done for her over the years. What kind of emergency happens on the wedding day itself? I countered. This is about Tiffany spending money meant for one thing on something else, and now expecting me to cover it. It's just money, Aunt Patty said. Family should come first. Amanda is family too, I insisted. That money is for her education. More relatives drifted over, drawn by the increasingly heated discussion. I found myself surrounded by family members taking sides, most deferring to Sandra's version of events, without questioning why a catering bill would suddenly need payment during the ceremony. You've always been selfish, Nellie. Sandra's voice rose further. Your sister deserves this one day to be perfect. What kind of mother raises a child to be so entitled that she can't even help family? The accusation hung in the air, shocking in its reversal of the situation. Guests beyond our family circle were now openly staring. I saw Judge Patterson frowning from across the room, while Jack stood near the back looking confused and concerned. Amanda, who had been standing with Diane, suddenly broke free and ran to my side, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. My mom is not selfish, she cried out, her voice carrying in the now quiet ballroom. She works 2 jobs to save for my college. She skips lunch so I can have new shoes. The room fell completely silent. 200 faces turned toward our family drama. Tiffany, who had stepped down from the stage, went completely still, her face transforming into something I'd never seen before. Pure, undiluted rage contorted her features as she stared at my daughter. In that moment, I knew something terrible was about to happen. I reached for Amanda, but I was seconds too late. Tiffany moved with shocking speed for someone in a wedding dress, covering the distance between the stage and Amanda in seconds. Her hand shot out, fingers tangling in my daughter's carefully styled hair, yanking backward with such force that Amanda's feet momentarily left the ground. You little brat, Tiffany snarled. All pretense of the perfect bride evaporated. How dare you ruin my wedding day? The collective gasp from the guests seemed to suck all the oxygen from the room. I lunged forward, but Sandra grabbed my arm, surprisingly strong in her desperation to contain the scene. Tiffany, stop! I screamed, struggling against my mother's grip, but Tiffany was beyond reason. With Amanda's hair still wrapped around her fist, she dragged my daughter toward the nearest wall, guests scrambling out of their path in horror. Everyone was supposed to be looking at ME today, Tiffany shouted, her voice unrecognizable. What happened next seemed to unfold in terrible slow motion. Tiffany slammed Amanda's head against the cream-colored wall, the sickening thud audible throughout the silent ballroom. Amanda's cry of pain cut through me like a physical blow. Let her go! Jack's voice finally rang out, but he remained frozen near the altar, as shocked as everyone else by his bride's transformation. I broke free from Sandra's grip, but Tiffany was already dragging Amanda toward the stage, my daughter's legs barely keeping up as she stumbled forward, disoriented from the blow to her head. You think your precious college fund matters? Tiffany spat, her words aimed at me but her violence focused on Amanda. You think anyone cares about your pathetic little life? She dragged Amanda up the 3 steps to the stage where the ceremony was supposed to take place. Guests stood immobilized by shock, phones now recording the unthinkable scene unfolding before them. Worthless trash like her will never go to college anyway, Tiffany declared, looking directly at me as she shoved Amanda toward the edge of the raised platform. Just like her mother. Just like her deadbeat father. Amanda's eyes, wide with fear and pain, found mine for a split second before Tiffany pushed her from the stage. It was only about 3 feet high. But Amanda fell awkwardly, her arm twisting beneath her as she landed with a scream of pain that will haunt my nightmares forever. The spell of shocked immobility finally broke. I shoved past the last few people between us, dropping to my knees beside my daughter. Jack's best man and groomsman surged toward Tiffany, who stood at the edge of the stage, chest heaving, seemingly shocked by her own actions. Amanda, baby, I'm here. I gathered her into my arms, noting with horror the red mark blooming on her forehead and the unnatural angle of her wrist. "It hurts, Mommy," she whimpered, tears streaking her makeup. Sandra appeared above us, her face ashen. "This is all your fault," she hissed at me. "If you had just given her the money." "Get away from us," I snarled, with a ferocity that made her step back. The heavy double doors at the rear of the ballroom swung open with a bang that cut through the chaos. Every head turned to see Judge William Patterson enter, flanked by several distinguished-looking men and women. They had apparently been waiting outside, perhaps for a cue to enter for the ceremony, and had walked in on its violent derailment instead. "What in God's name is going on here?" Judge Patterson demanded, his authoritative courtroom voice silencing the room. His eyes took in the scene. Me cradling my injured daughter on the floor, Tiffany standing wild-eyed on the stage in her now disheveled wedding gown, Jack and his groomsmen frozen in positions of intervention. For the first time since I'd known her, Tiffany looked genuinely afraid. Her face drained of color as she realized her future father-in-law, and what appeared to be his colleagues from the courthouse, had witnessed at least part of her assault on a child. "She attacked my daughter," I said into the silence, my voice surprisingly steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "She slammed her head against the wall and pushed her off the stage." "She's exaggerating," Tiffany stammered, the tremor in her voice betraying her panic. "The girl was having a tantrum. I was just moving her out of the way." "I saw the whole thing," Diane stepped forward. "It was a deliberate assault on a 10-year-old child." "So did we all," added an older woman I recognized as Jack's aunt, her face rigid with disgust. One of the men who had entered with Judge Patterson stepped forward, kneeling beside us. "I'm Dr. Marshall. I work with William at the courthouse. I'm a physician. May I take a look at your daughter?" I nodded gratefully, still supporting Amanda's trembling body. "She needs an ambulance," Dr. Marshall announced after a brief examination. "Possible concussion, sprained or fractured wrist, and she's in shock." Judge Patterson nodded to one of the other courthouse colleagues, who immediately stepped outside, presumably to call for emergency services. The judge then turned his attention to his would-be daughter-in-law, who seemed to shrink under his gaze. "Young lady, I've seen a lot of despicable behavior in my courtroom, but assaulting a child at your own wedding may be a new low. Bill, please." Eleanor Patterson moved to her husband's side, her face tight with controlled anger. "Let's focus on the child first. There will be time to address this later." The next few minutes blurred together as the wedding devolved into a crime scene. Someone brought ice wrapped in a cloth napkin for Amanda's head. Dr. Marshall fashioned a makeshift sling for her arm using a table runner. Guests whispered in horrified clusters, or openly recorded the aftermath on their phones. Throughout it all, Sandra alternated between trying to minimize Tiffany's actions and blaming me for provoking her. "Tiffany has been under tremendous stress," I overheard her telling Eleanor Patterson, "and Nellie refused to help with a simple financial matter." "A simple financial matter justifies assaulting a child?" Eleanor replied, her voice arctic. "I think you should stop talking now." Jack finally approached Tiffany on the stage, speaking too quietly for me to hear, but his body language communicated profound shock and disappointment. Tiffany reached for his arm, but he stepped back, shaking his head. The paramedics arrived within minutes, professionally taking control of Amanda's care. As they transferred her to a stretcher, checking her vitals and asking her gentle questions to assess her mental state, I heard the unmistakable sound of police sirens approaching. "We need to get her to the hospital for X-rays and a full assessment," the female paramedic told me. "You can ride with us." As they wheeled Amanda toward the exit, Judge Patterson approached us. "I've called the police," he said quietly. "What happened here was assault on a minor, plain and simple. I would like to speak with you later, if that's acceptable." I nodded, too focused on Amanda to fully process his words. As we reached the doors, a commotion near the stage drew everyone's attention. The wedding videographer, a young man with multiple cameras and equipment, was speaking urgently to two uniformed police officers who had just entered. "I have everything on video," he said clearly, his voice carrying in the tense room. "Multiple angles. I was recording the entire time as part of the premium package." "Tiffany, still on the stage, swayed slightly at his words, her face now ghostly white. The reality that her violent outburst had been professionally captured from multiple angles seemed to finally break through her rage. The last thing I saw as the paramedics wheeled Amanda out was Jack walking away from Tiffany, leaving her standing alone on the stage that should have hosted their vows, surrounded by the beautiful flowers that had apparently been worth more than my daughter's safety. The emergency room buzzed with controlled chaos as doctors assessed Amanda. The pediatric specialist diagnosed a mild concussion, a sprained wrist requiring a brace but thankfully not broken, and what she called acute emotional trauma in her gentle but direct manner. "We're monitoring for signs of more serious concussion symptoms," Dr. Winters explained, as she checked Amanda's pupil response again. "But she's alert and oriented, which is a good sign." Amanda lay small and vulnerable on the hospital bed, her bridesmaid dress replaced with a hospital gown, her carefully styled hair now tangled and flat against the pillow. My brave girl tried to smile whenever she caught me looking at her, which somehow made my heart ache even more. "Will I need to miss school?" she asked, her priorities so innocently normal despite everything. "Probably a few days," Dr. Winters answered. "Your brain needs rest to heal. No screens, no reading, just gentle recovery." A nurse entered with pain medication, followed by a hospital social worker who introduced herself as Marisa and asked if she could speak with me privately. In the hallway, she explained that the hospital was required to document suspected child abuse cases. "This isn't a family abuse situation," I clarified quickly. "It was my sister, at her wedding. The police are already involved." Marisa nodded. "I understand. But we still need to document everything thoroughly. A detective will want to speak with you." As if summoned by her words, a plainclothes detective appeared, introducing himself as Detective Carter. He had kind eyes that contrasted with his serious expression. "I've spoken with officers at the scene," he explained. "But I'd like to hear your account directly." I related the events leading up to and including the assault, including the financial demands and threats. Detective Carter took detailed notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. "Has your sister shown violent tendencies before?" he asked. I thought back through our history. "Not physically violent, no. Verbally and emotionally manipulative, yes. But I've never seen her become physically aggressive like this." "And your mother's role?" "She was pressuring me about the money alongside my sister, but she didn't participate in the assault. She tried to prevent me from reaching Amanda initially, though." Detective Carter nodded. "We'll be interviewing numerous witnesses. The videographer's footage has been secured as evidence." The thought of strangers watching that horrific moment made me shudder. But I was grateful it had been captured. Tiffany had always been skilled at twisting narratives to her advantage. "What happens now?" I asked. "Your sister is being processed on charges of assault on a minor, among other potential charges. The prosecutor will determine final charges based on evidence and witness statements." The reality that my own sister would be prosecuted for attacking my daughter felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's tragedy unfold. Our conversation was interrupted by a nurse. "Miss Morgan? Your daughter is asking for you." I returned to find Amanda drowsy from the pain medication, but fighting to stay awake. "Is Aunt Tiffany going to jail?" she asked, her voice small. I sat on the edge of her bed, carefully taking her uninjured hand. "The police are talking to her. What she did was very wrong, and there are consequences for hurting people, especially children." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "Is it my fault the wedding got ruined?" "No, absolutely not," I said firmly. "None of this is your fault. You were brave and stood up for us, but Aunt Tiffany made terrible choices. That's on her, not you." Amanda nodded, then winced at the movement. "My head still hurts. The medicine will help soon," I promised, gently stroking her hair away from the bruise on her forehead. A soft knock on the doorframe drew my attention. To my surprise, Jack Patterson stood there, still in his wedding tuxedo, though he'd removed the tie and boutonniere. His face was drawn with stress and what looked like deep embarrassment. "May I come in?" he asked quietly. I hesitated, protective instinct flaring, but nodded. Jack entered cautiously, stopping at the foot of Amanda's bed. "I wanted to see how you're doing," he said, Addressing Amanda directly with respect I appreciated. "I'm so sorry about what happened." Amanda regarded him warily. "Are you still marrying Aunt Tiffany?" Jack's face tightened. "No, I am not." The simple statement carried the weight of a life altered in a single afternoon. Whatever dreams and plans Jack had for his future had shattered alongside our family relationships. He turned to me. "I had no idea she was capable of something like this. I knew she could be. Demanding. Perfectionistic. But this." He shook his head, seemingly at a loss for words. "Did you know about the money?" I asked. "The $10,000 she was demanding for catering?" Jack's confusion seemed genuine. "What?" "No. The catering was paid in full months ago. We have the receipts." The pieces clicked together. "The honeymoon," I said. "She told me she'd taken money meant for catering to pay for your honeymoon in the Maldives." Jack's face darkened. "There is no honeymoon booked in the Maldives. We were going to Costa Rica, and it was paid for by my parents as a wedding gift." I felt suddenly dizzy with this new information. Then what was the $10,000 really for? "I don't know," Jack admitted. "But my father mentioned something about gambling debts when the police were questioning her. Apparently she's been spending time at the Riverboat Casino. I had no idea." The revelation stunned me into silence. My perfect sister, the golden child, had a gambling problem, serious enough to try to extort money from her own niece's college fund to cover it. Our conversation was interrupted by another visitor. Judge Patterson himself, still in his formal wedding attire but looking decades older than he had that morning. "Jack," he acknowledged his son with a nod. "I thought I might find you here." He turned to me. "How is Amanda?" "Concussion, sprained wrist, and emotional trauma," I summarized, too exhausted for pleasantries. Judge Patterson nodded grimly. "I've spoken with the prosecutor's office. They'll be pursuing this case appropriately." "You know the prosecutor?" I asked. "I know most of the legal professionals in this county," he confirmed. "But I'll be recusing myself from any involvement due to the personal connection. I wanted you to know, however, that I take this very seriously. What happened today was criminal, plain and simple." Jack shifted uncomfortably. "Dad, maybe we should let them rest." "One moment, son." Judge Patterson held up his hand. "Miss Morgan, when Amanda is recovered, I'd like to put you in touch with the Edison Educational Foundation. They provide scholarships for children who have overcome significant challenges. I sit on their board. Your daughter's college fund should not suffer because of what occurred today." His offer brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thank you. That's very kind." "It's the least I can do," he said solemnly. "My family was nearly connected to yours today. That creates a certain responsibility, even if the connection will now never be formalized." As they prepared to leave, Jack paused. "I truly am sorry. If there's anything you need..." "Thank you for coming," I said simply. After they departed, I checked my phone to find dozens of messages and missed calls from family members and wedding guests. Diane had texted that she was in the waiting room whenever I was ready for visitors. Several relatives expressed shock and support, while others defended Tiffany with excuses about wedding stress and misunderstandings. Most surprising was a message from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Eleanor Patterson. Jack gave me your number. When things settle, we should talk." Tiffany's behavior today revealed concerns I've had for some time. I was pondering her cryptic message when Detective Carter returned. The videographer provided his footage. "It's conclusive. Combined with witness statements, the case against your sister is solid." Relief flooded through me. "Thank you." "There's something else," he added, his expression serious. "Your sister made some concerning statements during questioning about financial issues. Given the accusations about the college fund, you might want to check on any other family financial connections." His warning sent a chill through me. I immediately texted my uncle who managed my grandmother's estate, warning him to check the accounts. His reply was almost immediate. "Already on it. Your mother asked for access to the trust fund 2 weeks ago. Request denied." The scope of Tiffany's financial desperation began to take shape, like a dark outline emerging from fog. What else had she done? How deep did this go? Amanda had finally drifted to sleep, the medication and trauma taking their toll. I sat beside her bed, my mind racing with implications and questions, when my phone buzzed with another message. Diane, when you're ready, I need to show you something. Several cousins have been comparing notes about Tiffany asking for loans recently. This goes beyond today. As the hospital quieted for evening, I realized this was just the beginning. The wedding day violence had merely ripped away the facade, exposing what might be years of deception and manipulation. While Amanda slept, monitored by medical professionals ensuring her physical recovery, I began to understand that our family would never be the same again. 3 days after the wedding that never happened, I sat in Amanda's hospital room reviewing discharge instructions while she dozed. The doctors had kept her for observation longer than initially expected when her headaches had intensified on the second day, but the latest scan showed improvement. She'll need follow-up appointments with the neurologist next week, Dr. Winters explained, handing me a folder of paperwork, and I'm recommending a child psychologist. Trauma like this can have delayed emotional effects. I nodded, adding the referrals to the growing stack of medical documents. My dental office had been understanding about my absence, but I knew I'd need to return to work soon. The financial reality of hospital bills loomed large despite our insurance. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Detective Carter stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Do you have a moment to talk privately?" he asked. In the hallway, he updated me on the case. "Your sister has been formally charged with assault on a minor, child endangerment, and disorderly conduct. Given the video evidence and witness statements, her attorney is already discussing a plea arrangement." "What does that mean exactly?" "She's likely facing probation, community service, anger management classes, and a restraining order at minimum. If she fights it, the prosecutor is prepared to pursue more serious charges that could include jail time." The thought of Tiffany in jail stirred conflicting emotions. Part of me wanted maximum consequences, while another part remembered the little girl who had once helped me with homework and shared ice cream on summer evenings. When had she transformed into someone capable of attacking a child? "There's more," Detective Carter continued. "Our investigation uncovered concerning financial activities. Your sister has apparently accumulated significant gambling debts at several establishments. We believe the $10,000 she demanded from you was to pay off a particularly aggressive creditor." "Was she being threatened?" I asked, thinking of loan sharks and mob enforcers from crime shows. "Nothing that dramatic," he clarified. "But the casino was preparing to send her account to collections, which would have affected her credit score and potentially come to her fiancé's attention." I leaned against the wall, processing this information. "Does Jack know?" "Mr. Patterson has been informed of our findings. He's cooperating fully with the investigation." After the detective left, I returned to Amanda's room to find her awake and talking with a hospital volunteer who had brought books and puzzles to help pass the time. "Mom, can I get a milkshake before we go home?" Amanda asked, sounding more like herself than she had in days. "Absolutely," I promised, grateful for this glimpse of normal childhood desires amidst the trauma. As the volunteer departed, my phone buzzed with a text from Diane. "Sandra's at your apartment. Says she needs to talk. Want me to send her away?" My cousin had been staying at my place to gather clothes and necessities for Amanda and me, acting as a buffer against unwanted family visitors. I appreciated her support more than I could express. "I'll be there in a few hours." "Let her wait if she wants," I replied. By late afternoon, Amanda was officially discharged. As we waited for a taxi outside the hospital entrance, Jack's Tesla pulled up instead. "Your cousin mentioned you needed a ride," he explained, emerging from the driver's seat. "I thought this might be more comfortable than a cab." Amanda eyed the luxury vehicle with interest, despite her lingering wariness of anyone connected to Tiffany. "That's very thoughtful," I said, surprised by the gesture. During the drive to my apartment, Jack maintained respectful conversation, mostly asking Amanda about her favorite subjects in school and books she enjoyed. He seemed genuinely interested in her answers, showing a gentleness that made me wonder how he had ever ended up with someone like Tiffany. "My dad would like to meet with you tomorrow, if you're feeling up to it," Jack mentioned as we neared my building. "He has some information he thinks you should know." I agreed to the meeting, curious about what the judge had discovered. Sandra was still waiting when we arrived, pacing the small living room while Diane watched her with barely concealed irritation. Jack helped Amanda settle on the couch with her favorite blanket and pillows before tactfully excusing himself. "I'll pick you up for the meeting tomorrow," he offered. "Around 10? After he left, Sandra immediately launched into her prepared speech. "Nellie, we need to discuss how to handle this situation as a family. Tiffany made a terrible mistake, but pressing charges will only make everything worse." "A mistake?" Diane interjected before I could respond. "She assaulted a child on video in front of 200 witnesses." Sandra shot her a venomous look. "This is a family matter." "It stopped being just a family matter when she committed a crime," I said, keeping my voice low to avoid disturbing Amanda, who was already dozing again in the other room. "And it's not me pressing charges. It's the district attorney." "But you could ask them to drop the case," Sandra insisted. "Tell them it was a misunderstanding, that you don't want to pursue it." "Why would I do that?" I asked, genuinely curious about her reasoning. "Because she's your sister. Because this will ruin her life, her reputation, her career. Because family protects family." "Where was that protection when she was attacking my daughter?" I countered, my voice hardening. "Where was your concern for family when you were trying to steal from Amanda's college fund?" Sandra flinched. "We weren't trying to steal." "Stop lying," Diane interrupted. "We've all compared notes, Sandra. Tiffany has been hitting up relatives for months, claiming various emergencies. She's been going through a difficult time," Sandra defended. "The wedding was stressful, and she made some poor financial decisions." "Poor financial decisions like gambling away thousands of dollars?" I asked. "Is that why you tried to access Grandma's trust fund 2 weeks ago?" Sandra's face paled. "Who told you that?" "Uncle Paul. He also mentioned you tried to have Tiffany added as a trust signatory last month." The revelations hung in the air between us. Sandra seemed to physically deflate, sinking into the nearest chair. "She needed help," Sandra whispered. "She got in over her head. I was trying to protect her." "At everyone else's expense," Diane noted. Sandra looked up, her eyes suddenly hard. "You don't understand what it's like to have a child in trouble." The irony of her statement was breathtaking. "My child is literally recovering from a concussion caused by your other child," I pointed out. "So yes, I understand perfectly." Our confrontation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Diane answered it to find Jack standing there with an envelope. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, looking uncomfortable as he sensed the tension. "I forgot to give you this earlier." He handed me the envelope and quickly departed. Inside, I found financial records with a post-it note attached. "Found these in Tiffany's desk while collecting her things. Thought you should see them. JP." Scanning the documents, my blood ran cold. Bank statements, transfer receipts, and loan applications revealed a pattern of financial manipulation going back at least 18 months. Most disturbing was a partially completed transfer form for my parents' retirement account with a forged signature that appeared to be my father's. "Have you seen these?" I asked Sandra, sliding the papers across the coffee table. Her face told me everything before she even spoke. "She was just borrowing," she whispered. "She was going to pay it all back after the wedding. After she and Jack were established." "How much?" I pressed. "I don't know exactly," Sandra hedged. "How much did she take from your retirement fund?" I demanded. Sandra looked away. "Almost 70,000. Diane gasped. "Does Dad know?" she asked, referring to my father who was currently on a fishing trip in northern Michigan, blissfully unaware of the wedding disaster. "No," Sandra admitted. "He thinks we're rebalancing the portfolio. I've been hiding the statements." The scope of Tiffany's deception and Sandra's enabling complicity stunned me into momentary silence. My sister hadn't just attacked Amanda in a moment of wedding stress. She had been systematically manipulating and stealing from our family for months, possibly years, while our mother covered for her. "You need to tell Dad everything," I finally said. "And you need to speak with the police about the financial fraud." "I can't," Sandra's voice broke. "It would destroy him. What do you think will happen when the bank statements arrive? When the retirement funds run out years earlier than expected? When he can't figure out why there's no money?" Diane asked. A text message alert interrupted our standoff. It was from an unknown number, This is Eleanor Patterson. The information about Tiffany's financial activities goes deeper than you know. My husband will explain tomorrow. In the meantime, secure your accounts and your daughter's college fund immediately." The warning sent me into action. While Sandra continued making excuses, I called my bank and placed additional security measures on Amanda's college fund. Then I contacted my father directly, something I'd been avoiding out of respect for his vacation. "Dad, you need to come home," I said when he answered. "There's been an incident at Tiffany's wedding, and there are serious financial issues you need to address with Mom." "Financial issues?" he repeated, confusion evident in his voice. "What kind of issues?" "It's better explained in person," I said gently. "But you should call your bank and check your retirement accounts immediately." After hanging up, I returned to find Sandra gathering her purse to leave, her face a mask of wounded dignity. "I can see you've made your choice," she said stiffly. "Betraying your sister instead of helping her." "She betrayed this entire family," I corrected, "and nearly seriously injured my daughter. Those were her choices, not mine." After Sandra left, Diane and I sat in stunned silence, the financial documents spread between us like a map of destruction. "What happens now?" she finally asked. "Tomorrow, I meet with Judge Patterson," I replied. "And then we start picking up the pieces." Later that night, after Diane had gone home, and Amanda was asleep in her own bed for the first time in days, I received one final message, this time from Jack. "My father has uncovered records of Tiffany's gambling activity going back 3 years. This predates our relationship. I'm so sorry for what happened to Amanda. None of you deserved any of this." I sat on my small balcony, looking out at the city lights, wondering how someone like Tiffany could have hidden such destructive behavior for so long. And I wondered what tomorrow's revelations would bring. 1 year after what our family now simply called the incident, Amanda and I sat in the guidance counselor's office at her middle school, reviewing options for her future academic path. The college fund that had been at the center of so much conflict had not only remained intact, but had grown substantially. "Amanda's test scores put her on track for advanced placement courses in high school," Mrs. Bradshaw explained, showing us a colorful chart of academic projections. "And with her grades, several scholarship options could be available in a few years." Amanda beamed with pride, twirling a strand of her hair around her finger. The physical scars from Tiffany's attack had long since healed, though she still occasionally had nightmares. The child psychologist had been invaluable in helping her process the trauma, teaching her resilience techniques that sometimes I found myself borrowing. "What about summer enrichment programs?" I asked, reviewing the brochures spread across the desk. "There's an excellent science camp at the community college," Mrs. Bradshaw suggested. "And with the Edison Educational Foundation scholarship Amanda received last fall, the costs would be fully covered." The mention of the foundation brought me back to that pivotal meeting with Judge Patterson the day after Amanda's hospital discharge. Jack had driven me to his parents' spacious home, where the judge had been waiting with a thick folder of documents and a court reporter. "What I'm about to share with you has legal implications," he had explained gravely. "I want everything on record to protect all parties involved." The revelations had been more shocking than I'd imagined possible. Judge Patterson had used his connections to uncover the full extent of Tiffany's gambling addiction and financial fraud. Bank records showed she had embezzled funds from her marketing firm's client accounts. Credit reports revealed 17 credit cards opened in various family members' names. Casino records documented losses exceeding $200,000 over 3 years. Most disturbing had been the evidence that Sandra had known about and enabled much of this behavior, helping cover Tiffany's tracks, while depleting her own financial security to fund her daughter's addiction. "I felt you deserved to know exactly what you were standing against when you refused to hand over your daughter's college fund," Judge Patterson had concluded. "Your sister wasn't just desperate for $10,000. She was drowning in debt and legal jeopardy, looking for any lifeline available." The judge had then introduced me to representatives from the Edison Educational Foundation, who offered Amanda a scholarship that would supplement her existing college fund. "We support children who demonstrate exceptional resilience in the face of adversity," the program director explained. "Your daughter standing up for you that day showed remarkable courage." The meeting had ended with Judge Patterson making a personal commitment. What happened to Amanda was unconscionable, and it happened because she was connected to my family through the wedding. I consider it my responsibility to ensure her future educational opportunities are secure. In the weeks that followed, the legal consequences had unfolded with methodical precision. Tiffany accepted a plea deal that included probation, mandatory gambling addiction treatment, community service, and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from Amanda. The financial crimes resulted in separate charges that were still working through the court system. My father had returned from his fishing trip to find his retirement savings decimated and his wife complicit in the deception. Their 40-year marriage had nearly collapsed under the weight of the betrayal. They were now in counseling, rebuilding their relationship on more honest ground while living on a strict budget to recover some of their financial losses. The wedding videographer's footage had gone viral despite efforts to contain it, turning our family trauma into brief internet infamy. Amanda had been shielded from the worst of the online attention, but the incident had followed her to school until the principal intervened. "Mom, can we go to the college planning workshop next Saturday?" Amanda's question pulled me back to the present moment. "The one Mrs. Bradshaw mentioned?" "Absolutely," I promised, gathering the informational packets. "We can make a day of it." Outside the school, Eleanor Patterson was waiting beside her car to drive us home, part of the surprising friendship that had developed in the aftermath of the incident. What had started as her accompanying Jack on visits to check on Amanda's recovery had evolved into genuine connection between two women who valued authenticity over appearances. "How did the meeting go?" Eleanor asked, as Amanda climbed into the back seat. "Great! Mrs. Bradshaw says I could qualify for advanced math next year," Amanda reported proudly. "I'm not surprised," Eleanor smiled, "given how thoroughly you beat me at Scrabble last weekend." The drive to our apartment was filled with comfortable conversation about everyday matters, so different from the tense family interactions I had grown up with. Eleanor and William had become unexpected allies, using their connections and resources not to control or manipulate, but to support and encourage. "William wanted me to remind you about the Foundation's summer picnic," Eleanor mentioned as we arrived home. "He's hoping Amanda will say a few words about her experience with the scholarship program." "I'd like that," Amanda said before I could answer, her confidence in public speaking a new development encouraged by her therapist. After Eleanor left, promising to confirm our dinner plans for the following week, Amanda and I settled into our Friday afternoon routine. While she started her weekend homework, I checked my email to find a message from Diane with the subject line, "1-year anniversary reflection." The email contained photos from before the incident, showing our extended family in happier times. Diane had added a thoughtful note. "Families aren't perfect. Some break permanently, others find new ways to connect. I'm proud of how you've created boundaries while still allowing for growth and change." She was right. The past year had transformed our family landscape completely. Some relationships had been severed, like mine with Tiffany, who still maintained I had ruined her life by refusing the $10,000. Other connections had been reconfigured, like with my parents, who now visited monthly for carefully structured time with Amanda, always respectful of the boundaries I had established. New relationships had flourished as well. Jack, who had initially visited out of guilt by association, had become a friend and occasional mentor to Amanda, encouraging her interest in law and justice. His casual mention that she might consider a legal career someday had planted a seed that seemed to be taking root. Most importantly, the bond between Amanda and me had strengthened through adversity. The incident had forced me to demonstrate in the most dramatic way possible that I would always protect her, no matter the cost. That certainty had given her a security that showed in her increasing confidence and resilience. Later that evening, as Amanda and I prepared dinner together, she asked the question I had been expecting for weeks. "Mom, do you think Aunt Tiffany will ever change?" I considered my answer carefully. People can change if they truly want to and work hard at it, but it's not our responsibility to wait around hoping for that change. Our job is to build our lives with people who treat us with love and respect. Amanda nodded, absorbing this. "Like the Pattersons. And Aunt Diane." "Exactly. Family isn't just about who you're related to. It's about who shows up for you consistently and treats you well. And stands up for what matters," Amanda added, echoing a phrase from her therapy sessions. "That's right. just like you did that day." She smiled, the painful memory now wrapped in a narrative of courage rather than victimhood. "I was really scared, but I couldn't let Grandma say those things about you." "You were incredibly brave," I assured her, marveling at how children could sometimes demonstrate more integrity than the adults in their lives. "And I'll always be grateful." As we sat down to eat, I reflected on how differently things might have turned out if I had given in to Tiffany's demands that day. The $10,000 would have disappeared into her gambling addiction. The deeper financial fraud might have continued undetected for months or years longer. And most importantly, Amanda would have learned that her future was less valuable than keeping the peace with toxic family members. Instead, by standing firm against manipulation and prioritizing my daughter's well-being over family pressure, I had inadvertently triggered a cascade of truths that needed to emerge. The temporary pain had led to authentic healing for those willing to embrace it. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been legal meetings, therapy sessions, difficult conversations, and financial adjustments. But sitting across from my thriving daughter, seeing her excitement about her future rather than fear about the past, I knew without doubt that protecting what truly mattered had been worth every difficult moment. Family relationships should lift you up, not tear you down. They should be built on mutual respect, not exploitation. And when those relationships become destructive, sometimes the most loving choice is to create distance and boundaries. These were the lessons I hoped Amanda would carry forward, along with the confidence that she was worth protecting at any cost. What would you do if someone in your family tried to take advantage of you or someone you love? Would you have the courage to stand your ground, even if it meant disrupting the peace or challenging long-established dynamics? Comment below with your thoughts on setting boundaries with family members, and remember to like this video if you found my story meaningful. Subscribe to hear more real-life experiences that might help you navigate your own complex relationships. And share this with someone who might need encouragement to protect what matters in their own life. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find the strength to stand firm in your own truth, whatever challenges you might be facing.